Welcome everyone to another edition of the Supply Chaney Podcast. I am your host, Nathan Chaney, and today we're going to have a conversation that really kind of hits home for me because Keri and I both went to the same school. We were probably walking around campus at about the same time, and we've both kind of found ourselves in the logistics and supply chain industry. Me intentionally, I'm not sure about Keri. We'll talk about that. And she's part of Three-Way Logistics. She's the VP of sales there. And one thing I think that's really interesting is that she has been there her entire career. So I'm really interested to hear from her, what about the job, what about the company, what about the industry it is that has made it so sticky for her, and kind of hear about her experiences there. So Keri, without further ado, I'll pass over the digital microphone to you to introduce folks to you.
Great to be here today. I am Keri Pape, VP of Sales for Three-Way Logistics, and I have been with Three-Way for a little over 20 years now. I think right at the 20-year marker. Started right out of college, went to University of North Texas, like you said, go Mean Green. Was looking for a sales position, thought I kind of wanted to go into, as a marketing major, thought I wanted to go into sports marketing, and kind of realized wanted to go into a more sales role after college, so applied for sales jobs, and through University of North Texas used their career center, and Three-Way posted on their career center for an inside sales position for trade show logistics sales, because we have a part of our company that does trade show movements in and out of trade shows, international and domestic. So that is where I started, in a sales office in our Dallas facility, and then moved down to Austin about a year later to work more on the asset-based warehouse transportation side.
All right. That was, well, I'm really interested to unpack that and hear more, because even though that took about 30 seconds to explain, 20 years worth of work, I really want to dive in there a little bit more, talk about where you're from and what your upbringing was like.
Yeah, from San Antonio, Texas. Grew up there. So went to MacArthur High School. Played softball. Family all has a sports background. So grew up around baseball fields, and then played softball, volleyball, basketball, and then decided to go to the University of North Texas. I wanted to be the next Erin Andrews. Was my goal, and they have a great journalism program. That's why I initially chose UNT, was to go to their journalism program to be in sports broadcasting.
So that kind of feels like a natural move then. And was there like some like particular thing in sports broadcasting that you thought, were you going to be like on the field interviewing folks, or like in the studio? Like, did you have some grand dreams
I
there?
wanted to be Erin Andrews. Like, I wanted to be on the field interviewing. That is like, and I was, which is 40 hours a Zeta. She was a Zeta. And I wanted to, like, she was just doing ESPN when I was in high school. So she was doing my parents are both University of Texas graduates. So they both went to UT. And so she had the Big 12 games. So she was on the sideline at all those games. So I wanted to be her.
That's cool to have somebody out there that can serve as a role model and kind of that goal that you want to get to later on. So it sounds to me like, maybe, did you ever do like those career days at school where you went and interviewed with a bunch of different companies? Is that kind of how you came across Three-Way, or through a different
No,
means?
I did. Now, we have participated in those as a company. So I have done those on the Three-Way side for looking. We've participated in a few of those career fairs. They
Mhm.
have their, or at least when I was there, things could have changed. They have their online portal that you can go in as
Mm.
a upcoming graduate. You can work with your counselor, and she helps kind of decide which things, and they put your name out. There was a spot where like professors could write like a recommendation letters for you as well. So I just went through their kind of career hiring thing. I did not do the fair as an individual looking for a job, but I did the
Mhm.
fair as Three-Way as we are looking for candidates. We've participated in it before.
So the idea of going from sports broadcast and journalism to inside sales for trade show logistics. So help like kind of
Yeah,
make those puzzle
make that.
pieces
So
fit.
I shifted in college to go from a journalism background to a business background, probably halfway through, just
Mhm.
because reality of being the next Erin Andrews, once you do it, doesn't, like, there's one of her. So it didn't make necessarily sense in the amount of travel and just everything involved in it. Once you get into it, I was like, I don't really want to do this. So I shifted to a marketing background and so shifted into the business program. So I have a business degree in marketing with a minor in journalism. So, yeah, so that's where I shifted. So shifted halfway through college and then finished with a marketing degree. Did an internship at the marketing arm with sports marketing,
Okay.
which is great. And so I'm the youngest of three, and brother and sister were already in sales positions. So thought that I'd go into sports marketing, and then I was like, let me interview some for sales too. And so interviewed on the sales position and thought that just fit better what I wanted for, multiple things. And so decided to shift in just to a sales role. So looked for positions and interviewed and thought it sounded interesting. Did not know anything about logistics. I do
Okay.
not have a logistics degree. It was a marketing degree. So I learned everything that I know from trial and error.
Yeah. Which is interesting, kind of, because I was probably like a building or a few classrooms over getting a logistics degree.
Logistics degree.
Which at the time was actually part of it was marketing and logistics department. And so I took like just as many marketing classes as I took logistics classes actually. And so, which is funny because now you and I are talking and we're talking from a logistics perspective in a marketing sort of sense here. It's funny how the world works a little bit here.
Yeah.
And so you followed that. It kind of made sense. You kind of learned logistics on the fly, but it obviously connected. It was something that worked out. It made sense for you. One of the things I like to ask folks, because I think it's a good tell, is did you have a job before this, your first adult job? Did you do anything else, weekends or whatnot? And what was that? Because I feel like it's always a fun story of what was like your first little job ever.
My first job in high school, all through high school, and then in college, I go back for summer and Christmases, was working at a pet resort. So I walked dogs. So it was like a doggy, not really a doggy daycare, but it was like where you board your dogs to go on vacation. So it worked great when I went to college because summers were busy and so were Christmas. So when I came back, I could work. But yeah, all the dogs at this pet resort have to be walked. And so they, hire a lot of high school kids to help out. So it was a great, fun job. I loved it. And I loved the company. It was a woman-owned company, and she was great and very flexible with my sports schedule. And also, like I said, in college, she let us go off and come back and help out. So it was a great experience. I think I worked there from like 16 to when I stopped coming back from North Texas from college, so about 19. So a little while. It was fun.
That's cool. My sort of parallel to that is a Christmas tree farm in East Texas that I worked on. During the summers, you still have to like take care of the farm, take care of the trees and stuff. And then in the winter, obviously you're working sales and strapping trees onto people's cars. So
that's fun.
That's kind of cool. And I suppose probably in that environment, it was a pretty heavy, like, I don't know, like customer service operations. There's an operation behind a dog boarding sort of thing. Like it's a business. So you probably picked up some of like just the fundamentals of business and customer service through that experience.
Yeah. And like I said, it was a woman-owned company, and she ran the business and had a great operation, and it was fun to see. And then just interacting with people I mean, love animals and pets, and so how people are very protective. So it is can sometimes be a crazy environment of people upset about things and worried about their dog,
right,
and all the things. So it was my first interaction with people in a service setting.
Right. So I guess the big question now is
goods and bads of that, right? So
right, which is bound to happen in a service kind of industry.
Yeah.
Well, do you have pets now?
I do not. We don't have, and I do love pets. It just doesn't. My husband is a sales rep too, so two sales reps and a lot of travel just doesn't fit. Would eventually love to get one, and we've said that for a long time now. So we'll see. But I do grew up on a ranch, love animals, and worked at a pet resort. Just doesn't fit the lifestyle.
Have you ever lived outside of Texas? I'm curious if you and I have that in common.
I have not. I've only been in Texas, San Antonio, Austin, Dallas. So mainly 35 corridor.
35 corridor.
Yeah, 35 corridor, only Texas.
Oh, that's funny. You and I, so we have that in common. And I haven't lived outside of Texas yet. I will change it. So let's maybe start talking through what your career has been like. So it sounds like you said that you started on the trade show, logistics, sales,
Yeah.
sort of inside sales bit there. Kind of walk us through the journey that you've had within Three-Way.
Yeah. So started inside sales, so cold calling, trade show, and also we do some third party logistics too. And so started calling a little bit on the broker side as well, just because it's transactional. So sales happen a little bit quicker usually on that side. So it's good to, as a brand new sales rep, it's good to get some wins, but also kind of get quick wins where Three-Way, especially like on the warehouse side, it's a slower sell. So it's like, you're working a long time. So on the trade show side and also the brokerage side, it's a little quicker sales cycle. So it's good to kind of see quick wins and quick losses and learn from that. So started on that side and it was great. It was fun. Vegas for work and Vegas for play are two different cities. So going to Vegas and working trade shows was a whole eye opener at 20, right? The amounts like checking freight into shows, then working the show, then checking like everyone leaves and you're checking out all the freight. So it was very interesting to see. You could not like if you asked me before I started working there what you do in trade show logistics, I wouldn't have been even close to what it actually goes on for a trade show, getting all the booths moved in and out. That was interesting. It was a very fun year. So I did that for a little over a year in the sales office in Dallas, and that was right over the airport. So worked in Grapevine on Airport Boulevard over China Airlines. So saw all the big cargo planes come in and get out of so it was kind of big eye opening from learning logistics to working in the trade shows to working on the airport where all the cargo planes are rolling up. It was a fun year of just taking in as much as I could from many different angles of transportation.
A little bit different than being on the baseball, softball field, or walking
Yes,
dogs.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So it
So,
was,
but that's
I
cool. But
mean,
you
there'd
got to
be,
like in the operations, like you say being at the trade shows, checking in freight, so
yeah,
that sort of boots on the ground, which is, I think, so critical of a foundation as you build your career of having experienced that so that when you're selling, you actually kind of know what's going on, down
yeah.
in the operations, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of one of with our company and the growth that we had at the beginning, a lot of times early on with warehouse customers. And as we have grown, and when you have gotten, there's times where we've had a couple projects where I went off sales at the very beginning for a little bit to help on the ops side. And where you would have to kind of all hands on deck assist in the warehouse and to get things going, which is kind of the biggest learning for me to be able to sell. If you actually pick the parts and you've transacted them in the system and you've responded to stuff, it's like you can sell it because you've actually done it. Where some of that growth and some of working with the smaller company was, there's negatives to it in pipeline growth. Sometimes was tough because you'd bring in a company and there'd be kind of a lag in pipe because you'd have to get that account up and going. But then there was positives in it is where you really understood the operations because you did some of the operations.
As one of those managers of 3PL warehouse and stuff in the past, it was one of those things that I guess those old as time type conversations and battles between operations and sales, where sales have teed you up and committed the moon and everything, and the operations are just like, man, how are we going to deliver on
Yeah.
these promises that have been made? And so I always, it was through that experience that I realized that, man, like the right sort of folks that are out talking to customers and closing deals are ones that have been there and done that. And so they don't overcommit and make promises that the operations are not going to be able to keep.
Yeah, I think that's everyone's challenge, right? You
Right,
want
right.
you want the business, you want to close the business, but also you have to keep in mind the capabilities and all the above.
Right, right. So after that year or so working trade shows and stuff, kind of what was that? What was the next step?
So my company offered me a position to move to Austin to work on the asset based side. So we had a small facility warehouse in Austin think it was about 42,000 square feet. And we had trucks over the road and also local trucks. So they wanted to grow the Austin operation. So they offered me a position to move to that facility. And being from San Antonio, it was closer to home, closer to my parents. They were both UT grads, so they thought Austin is the best place on earth. So when I called my mom, she was like, when are we going? Like, when am I coming up to move you down? So that was fun. So decided to make the move, moved to Austin and started selling warehouse, rigging and asset-based transportation, mainly to high-value customers, semiconductor, anything in that kind of high-value sector. So it was definitely a transition and a change, but Austin was great, and then it ended up being a great move for me.
Awesome. Oh, I've also lived in Austin. I feel like in that similar sort of vein of thought of just living up and down the 35 corridor. Yeah, Austin has grown a lot since those early days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of technology. It's kind of cool. There's a little bit of logistics. So you kind of made that move and you started moving and working on the asset based side. And what happened, I guess, from there after kind of taking on that next role?
Yeah, so on that side, I was in that role for a probably 10 plus years and grown Austin. I think now we have over 1 million square feet in Austin. So when I moved there, we had 2,000. So now I think we're a little over 1 million in Texas. So about 800 in Austin square feet. So slowly, grew business looking for distribution pick and pack customers, as well as customers that need that asset based transportation specialty needs. We run what we call high cube trailers. And we run reefer trailers. So anything that is kind of specialized. So finding the right niche customer is definitely the target. And so stayed in Austin and definitely had overreach in other areas. So have customers all over the United States in that high tech. So really kind of took on the focus of semiconductor industry, high tech industry, not just in Austin and just in Texas, but in the United States as well. So slowly grew my book of business over that kind of 10, 15 years. And then was offered the VP of sales role 3 years ago. So then I took over the team.
I would like to kind of talk a little bit about in that 10-year period or so, and even now, what were like some of the strategies that you, and this might be kind of just industry generic, but what are some of the levers you would pull to go get in front of customers, identify where they're at, go get in front of them? Was that trade shows, email marketing? Like what are some of your favorite go-tos for getting out there?
Mine probably is events and socialization, right? Anything to
Okay.
get involved in. I definitely tried to do as much in the semiconductor industry as possible. So semiconductor events, any networking events in Austin, I went to a lot of those networking events in California, anything in those high tech areas that I thought people would be at. I did everything from DFW Cargo Association Board,
Oh, yeah.
Semi
Yeah.
Texas Board. So lots of just getting to know people. Dallas, like the cargo group is, it's big, but it is small.
Yeah.
It's everyone. And same thing with Austin, especially when I moved there about 20 years ago. It had a good network. So everyone knew each other. So just to get out and meet people and go to people's events and participate in things to gain a great network of people, because we have a specialty need, people will recommend you if someone needs
Mm.
something or they're struggling something in logistics of like, I need warehouse is overflowing. I don't have any space anymore. You should look at the 3PL office and call Keri. So
Yeah.
it's like just kind of really getting your name out there to people was really what I tried to do.
It kind of makes sense that your first answer there was about in-person events and conferences and networking events, because that was where you got your start a little bit, like
Yeah.
supporting conferences and trade shows.
Yeah.
What is your, fast forward to today, to the VP hat that you wear? What is your view of conferences and trade shows? Is it still something that you all leverage, or like what, how does that work out for you all?
Yeah, I think networking is almost more important today than ever. And one of the things is I think that like dialing for dollars, and people will, I think everyone has their opinion, everyone will argue with this, but like dialing and dialing is harder than ever. People just don't answer their phones, right? The
Hmm.
screening And now, if you used to get a hold of someone's cell phone, you'd always kind of be interested, like, do I call it? Do I not call it? Now everyone calls everyone's cell phone. There's no level of like intrusiveness these days,
Right.
right? So everyone has full access. So everyone calls everyone so it's like the ignore button is worse than ever to me. So it's
Hmm.
like people not answering, people screening. The theory of you make 100 calls and eventually someone's going to answer. I just don't know if how true that is anymore. So getting a connection where people know you to answer, like this is so and so from three way, I'm going to answer it. Or, oh, I saw her here. I'll at least give her the time. So I think kind of in person networking makes a very big difference in like brand association and that today that gets people to recognize you, to answer your email or recognize your company, to like look at your email, because just the amount of phone calls and emails and LinkedIn and with all the technology these days, I think it is very important for people to recognize at least your company or your name to create a relationship. Otherwise, you're just another person sending an email.
Yeah. How can you be a celebrity pickleball event a couple nights ago and Dirk Nowitzki was on the court? He's 7 feet tall. So it's kind of like, how do you become the Dirk in the crowd so that when people are looking out, like you kind of stand out, right? You're memorable and top of mind.
Yeah, I think that is again just being involved in things. Chairing events helps you, right? Because then you're literally the one talking on the mic. You're the
Right.
one being. So I think that's why I always got on the board on stuff. So you could
Mhm.
like people have to call you if they want. They have to come sign up, or you have to give them that you're at the registration table, so they're talking to you every time. So it's not intrusive. I think also just kind of building your company, but we're building your brand, right? Your kind of which I think you do a very good job on that, right? Is having your own brand as well, where people recognize you in that.
Let's talk a little bit about let's to the fact that you've been there at Three Way for the amount of time you've had, and so many of my guests have this very kind of ping pong kind of career, which makes for an interesting story and nice stories to tell by the campfire or whatnot, or at a trade show at the bar. But I think there's a lot of value in the longevity of someone who's stuck with a company and been part of it as it's grown over the years. Is there any secrets to success or anything you can share with folks about how you've made that work for you?
Yeah, my story's like 30 seconds because I have been with the same company. One of the things, and I know we've talked about this, is some of it is the company's changed so much, right? Through growth in business, through growth in acquisition. So we went from in Austin, this little company with just a few people in the office to having, 200 plus people where you don't know everyone, and
Yeah, yeah.
everyone is not a name. So the company has evolved so much. The feel of it feels different than when I
Hmm.
first walked in the door. So it definitely has evolved, but it also just it's been like, it's kind of been very gratifying to build it. So it's like you like look back and you're like, man, we did this. Like so that's really cool. And that's something that as you looked and you did other job offers and you kind of look like and you did, your pro and con list of like, is it worth it? It just like it always comes back to the company owners, everyone I've worked with, the amount that they have given to me and the amount the company has helped and helped me build career and the knowledge that they've given me. Like, I mean, logistics can be tough, right? We've worked long nights, especially in growth mode, right? Always trying to grow. That's tough. A lot of long hours, and just the people have been fantastic to work with. They have always wanted to grow. So anything as a sales rep that you come up with, you can say, hey, look, this is what I got. It can make money, it's good, and it's been like one of those where they're like, "Let's go." So
Yeah.
when you look at
Cool.
some other companies and also a lot of larger companies, you got to go through multiple steps, right, to get answers or to get yes. And we always had this ability to move quick and be really nimble in making decisions. So we were able to get some big opportunities and big business because we're able to move quick and add square footage and add buildings and stuff. And for me, that's always my pro and con list. It's been about the people and the growth of the company and the growth of my business. And that's, always been able to continue at this company. So I have not ever kind of wanted to move on because of those things.
I think there's a good number of people in sales that probably listen to the podcast 'cause it's a big component of the industry. Like, the sales and marketing folks are the ones out there keeping the business going and growing. Any words of advice from your perspective? Because you certainly could not have gone in and started, as a marketing grad, as inside sales, and moved up and continued this kind of trajectory without being successful at selling. Because of the nature of sales, it's either if you're not performing, if you're not living up and meeting your goals, you're not going to be around long. And so clearly there's something that you're doing right. So any sort of insider tips of like what you think has enabled you to be successful as a salesperson through the years?
Yeah, I kind of think in this, I think it's a little bit that like athletic background where you can
Okay.
always get better, you can always do more. And so you just never stop like trying to make your craft better, right? So
Okay.
from the like, if you go out and you throw, a no hitter, then there's a perfect game, right? If you throw a perfect
Mhm.
game, you can throw two. So it's like you can always get better and always improve. And I think the mentality has been like, from the beginning, learn logistics, learn selling, figure out how to sell, figure out what a truck is and how many tires are on the truck because I didn't know that. And then continue to improve and to change. And I think with like markets and with, that our company involving with things. I mean, we had when I first started, this is gonna date me, it's definitely like Blackberries. Right now you have these robust sales CRMs and you have all this stuff. So it's really evolving and changing by continuing to push yourself to grow to me and to learn new techniques and to be open to stuff. I always, tell people I'm like that this is what works for me. You got to find out what works for you because it may not work for me and I always try new things. I'm open to if people are like, "Oh, this works great." I'll try it. I'm like, "Oh, that didn't all work great for me." But it may have worked great. So I think continuing to just try new things, look out of the box, see what works for other people, and continue to evolve. I've done multiple sales trainings and getting different perspectives on things. And it's not like you have to take everything everyone says, but just take tidbits and continue to grow your craft.
There's kind of continuing on this thread of marketing and sales and processes and in your approach. There's also kind of this idea that sales and marketing need to kind of like go through this journey together and try to be in lockstep. And sometimes that means reporting up to like a chief revenue officer or something, make sure that everything's aligned. Any sort of like things that you've seen or that you think you all do, to make sure that your marketing message and your sales team and stuff that everyone's on the same page of music.
Yeah, I kind of think it is easier for us because we kind of built it. I mean, we started
Mhm.
so small that it wasn't like we had. So we kind of started. We added a few marketing individuals when I took the VP role, and we started kind of brainstorming what works and what doesn't work and we've kind of had trial and error together so this
Yeah.
no that idea was not good or this idea actually was good and we'll do that so I think for our company we're still kind of one unit the sales and marketing team trying to work together and figure out and I think our sales team does a great job of being like these events were good, those events weren't good. So I think for us, because we're just still, there's 10 of us total on the marketing and sales team, we're still so together as a unit and we have ties. Marketing individuals report up into me. And the sales team reports. So we have a lot of synergies in that regard. So I don't
Mm.
know if we have the same challenges as other companies would have with like a CEO of marketing battling a CEO of, or a VP of marketing battling a VP of sales, right? So
Right.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's one for us.
Yeah. It's, I'm an operations guy, right? I can build a warehouse, I can run a
Yeah,
fleet of trucks. That's what my background is. So I really enjoy talking just about the mechanics and the challenges and best practice of sales and marketing because it's like learning another language for me, even though it's what you've been doing and what you studied. So
yeah.
I'm curious. So one of the questions that are just my standard run of the mill questions here. I got three of them. One, I
Okay.
think one of the key terms, maybe of the 2020s right now, is visibility in a supply chain and knowing where your stuff is and whatnot. So, just real briefly, what does supply chain visibility mean to you and to you all there at Three Way?
So we are really trying to dig down to visibility in multiple ways, from safety wise, from drivers, right, having forward facing and front facing cameras to being
Mhm.
able to see, we can tell when there's hard braking, when they're, so we get all that information. So we want visibility to everything that our team is doing on the safety side, right? Safety for us is the most important. And then, of course, on the customer side, for the customer to see everything that we do from, the truck picking up to delivering. We're working on technology and have utilized where we can even tell when the driver doors are open, when they're closed, when there's alerts on that. So for us, visibility on the operation side is key, right? Key for safety, key for integration, and also just the data that you can pull from that, the GPS tracking and all the things there, dwell times and everything, just to keep the operation running smoothly and also more efficient, and look for opportunities for change management. So for us, we're really digging into the visibility, especially on the safety side. And then, of course, on the sales side, we use sales CRMs. Sales team is all over the US, mainly West Coast area, but not sitting together. So
Yeah.
visibility definitely makes my job easier in managing a team when you look back at like my manager when I first started and not having all that access. It had to be a lot more challenging than today, where I can like log in at night and see everything they did that day before. So I think visibility is really positive from like looking at where I've been to now.
All right, next one here. Do you have a quote? Those kind of quotes that you might like write on the wall in front of you that helps you get through the tough day, or that you pass along to someone who just needs a bit of inspiration?
My quote that comes to my head is not a good one. It is okay.
Yeah.
So I will tell it, even though people are going to tease me. So it's from Grey's Anatomy, and every time we have like a big RFQ, and
Huh?
I'm waiting on an answer if we got it, I always think about Meredith Grey saying, "Pick me, choose me, love me," and that's the one I always think, which does not, it's not like a good motivational one. It's just wanting business. So it's
Okay.
not great, but that is the one that if I quote that I think about the most in
Yeah.
business, it is that one. But I don't think I have a motivational one that like comes back to me.
Why? What's the sentiment, I guess, behind those words, and how do
The
they hit
Grey's
you
and
when you're talking?
just like I want them to pick me. I want
Yeah.
them to choose me for that RFQ. So that's what I always think is Meredith Grey from Grey's Anatomy, which is not like, has nothing to do. It's not good, and I'll probably be embarrassed when it comes out with it. I said this, but yeah, but that's what you always think, 'cause you're waiting on an answer, and you're like
Right.
checking your email, and you're
Right.
checking your phone, and you're like, please
Yeah.
give me this. I've worked for years to get this. Like I want
Right.
this business, and so I think of Meredith Grey telling Derek to pick me, choose me,
Right.
love me.
I love the little bit of transparency there. I appreciate it. I promise not to use it in any sort of malicious ways. So, all right, the last one here, and I think this one's really appropriate because we started out this conversation talking so much about school and studying and the beginning of a career, is if you were to be able to go back to Keri back, in 2007 when you were just starting things out and whatnot, what advice would you give her that might be able to like make the last years a little easier, or be able to like kind of short circuit to where you are today? What words of advice would you give to yourself back when you were a student?
Think the words of advice that I like think now with younger generations coming in, having you sales reps that are coming out of college area, you always think like the things that everyone gets so upset about, and you just get so like, you want business, you want growth, and so there's days that are just bad. And now it's like things that happen, you're just like, in the big picture, we'll get through this. We'll figure it out. Like it just doesn't, the stress level to me, and I'm not going to say I don't have stress, because I do, and some days are tough and not fun. But just what you kind of got worked up about back then, you're like, oh, and now you see other people get worked out of, and you're like, well, why are you getting worked up about that? So I think I
Yeah.
would just enjoy the journey more and not like get as stressed out about stuff. Like more now, I think I'm much better at like problem solving. How can we fix it? What can we do? What we can do better next time? How do we go forward? Instead of like letting it go home and ruin your day and that kind of. So I think I'm much better about that now, and I wish I was better about that younger. Like, how can we go forward? How can we fix it? What can we do better next time? Yes,
Mhm.
it was a big deal. Yes, it's not fun, but it's done. So let's go, instead of sometimes reacting negatively to people on it, and also like taking it home and having, a terrible evening because of something like that. So I think I would definitely do that. Like just relax a little bit.
Advice from Keri: chill. I saw a graphic the other day. It was like a circle, and it said within this big circle was all the things that you worry about will go wrong. And then there was like a little dot in there, and it said, this is what represents what actually did go wrong.
Yeah.
And so just all that worry, a lot of it can be misplaced. And it's like,
Yeah.
so, well, I
And you
appreciate
see
you
people's
coming on.
reactions to stuff, right? Like, and then you're like, oh, I used to react that way. Oh, now, now
Right.
you're,
Yeah.
yeah.
That emotional
So it's like,
maturity. And I've been there,
yeah,
done that. I know what it's like. We're going to survive. They're not going
yeah,
to all be W's, Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us and sharing some of your experience, your expertise, and your journey in the world of logistics. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yeah. Thank you very much.